right. Welcome to another live stream episode. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are always been and have always been fantastic. I appreciate every single one of you. And today we're going to jump right into it. The fix in post is a lie, and how video debt destroys your time and budget. Okay. So, video debt, as we all know, I'm actually going to dive right into it and explain exactly what it is. Um, I want to make sure that you're able to hear exactly what I'm saying. I got a comment last time saying that my audio is super, super low. So I wanted to make sure that you guys can hear exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying without going way too loud. So hopefully this is loud enough and it's not super low. But yes, so I want to start the stream by saying with something that most editors won't say out loud. We're not magicians, right? And neither is post production. So every time someone says we'll fix it in post, what they're really saying is we're choosing to pay triple later instead of paying attention now. And this isn't just for paying clients that are actually paying money. This is, let's say, for yourself, if you're doing it yourself or with a small team for a passion project, or just with things that you're just trying to capture at the moment, and then put it on your social, whatever, for content. You're not gonna necessarily pay for it in money, but you're gonna pay for it in time and energy, right? So, um, you know, fix it in post. We hear that all the time. Yes. So today we're going to talk about something, what I call video debt. All right, and it's the hidden cost of mistakes that compound after the camera stops rolling. Okay, so this is everything that you didn't plan for in pre-production. Shot lists, or how we're gonna do the sound, what cameras are we gonna use, what locations are we gonna go to, and it sounds like a lot. And even if you're doing something that's like you guys call a small production, something that's not gonna be too much, or oh, this is only gonna take like 10 minutes. This is only gonna take 10 minutes. You're gonna pay for the things that you didn't plan for later on. Okay, that's video debt. Um, yes, these are just hidden costs of mistakes that compound after the camera stops rolling. And again, you don't necessarily have to be paying money for this, but if you are paying money for this, or client work or whatever, um, you as somebody paying to do video, or paying somebody else to do your video, you're gonna be paying extra for the things that you didn't plan for in the first place. All right, as you can see from the visual right there. All right. So think of the video production process like finances, right? When you ignore a problem early, you don't eliminate it, you finance it. All right. So it's kind of like that one insect that you saw at first around the house. That one piece of garbage that you kind of, or that open plastic water bottle that you just kind of left it there. Um, Little by little, it's gonna make its way into a small problem to a really big problem. And that's what happens in post, right? So a mistake caught on set or wherever you're filming takes 5 minutes to fix, right? And then that same mistake discovered in post, in when you're actually, got all your footage into your program, um, it's gonna at least cost you 2 hours minimum. It's something that could be let's say, for example, you're filming a project, or that has an interview, and they could be, it could be like a lawyer, or a doctor, and then you see that they have a piece of lint right here on their black blazer, right? And then that's gonna take you, you know, at least an hour to try to crop that out, or mask it out of all your images, all your footage, as opposed to if you had written that down and had that mentality of, you saw it and you're like, oh, I'll fix it in post. Instead of saying that, and you actually go ahead and fix it, that little 2 second thing, or lint roller, 5-10 second lint roller that you could have just used, turns into at least an hour and a half in post. All right, that's the video debt, and that's what you see here on this chart. Um, that extra time is interest, and that's the video debt, right? So you hear an air conditioner hum on set. That happens all the time. All you have to do is flip a switch and you're done, or turn off the AC, whatever. Um, in post, that same hum, you have to do noise reduction, you have to clean up, and you have to compromise, right? And that's depending on your audio process or eliminating that. It depends on everything. um, you know a crooked frame on set, something in the background. It doesn't have to do with the lighting. All you got to do is reposition the camera. If you're using a zoom lens, you can kind of zoom in a little bit. Crooked frame in post, you got to crop, you got to scale it. You might lose resolution. It's a lot, right? It turns into a lot. So post production shouldn't be looked at as something that you repair, a place where you repair broken things. It's reconstruction. Those are two different things. Okay, so it's building something out of the materials that you have, as opposed to fixing something that's completely broken. All right, you're not fixing, as to make an analogy, you're not fixing the drywall on a broken, you know, replacing the drywall that somebody punched a hole through it. You're not doing that. What you're doing is actually putting in the drywall. It's reconstruction. It's completely different, right? And it takes, a lot more time. So fix it in post is a tax on your business. Especially as young professionals, even if you're just freelancing these things, these are some things to take into consideration. And trust me, I've spent countless hours just fixing these things, where if I think about it while I'm filming, I could have just planned a little bit better and, made it happen. But it is what it is. All right. Video debt compounds faster than creative energy. So just remember that. And, you know, there's a myth about fix it in post, and I hear it a lot, even with paying clients. And some problems aren't hard to fix. They're just, they're fundamentally broken. So, for example, bad audio. You can't color grade a hiss. You can't EQ your way to clarity that never existed. So, I mean, nowadays you have these AI programs that can help you do it, but I think that should be looked at as like a total, break the glass box, press the red button emergency, as opposed to having it as like a tool in your arsenal. You know what I mean? Um, you know, Bad audio doesn't get fixed. It gets almost like negotiated. You kind of have to deal with certain things now and be like, all right, well, this is what I got. And audio problems don't disappear. They downgrade. They make your footage look not as good as it could have been, as it could have been, right? Bad lighting, right? It isn't brightness. Lighting isn't brightness. It's direction. It's how you set the mood, right? And direction is baked into the shot. So flat lighting, it has no shape, it has no depth. And post adjustments, they kind of exaggerate the flaws. They don't create the intention. And you can enhance lighting in what you already have in post, but you can't redesign it. I know that there's things that you can add extra lights and do things in post and some of these programs, After Effects, but again, you're paying that in time and energy and that creative output that you're trying to do, as opposed to just trying to edit it. Not edit it, as opposed to trying to just have it filmed the way it's supposed to be, and then trying to recreate these things in post. You know, it should be a quick thing that you do in post, and then try to add something creative flair and not just reconstruct it. You can polish lighting, but you can't invent intention, like what the original intention was, especially with these client projects that you have to sometimes make these shots. You only have one chance to make these shots, and then that's it. They gotta keep moving because they got a busy schedule. It's like you gotta plan for that, so that way it doesn't take you an hour in post. All right. Lack of intent. You know, if you didn't shoot a hook, for example, in your script, you can't invent one in the timeline. you could try, but it's going to take you forever, and it's not going to come out as good. You know, um, us as editors, we rearrange the meaning, but we don't really manufacture the footage, right? Missing coverage means missing options. You don't have it. So the editing amplifies the intention. It doesn't replace it, once again. And in post, it refines the vision that you already have. It doesn't create it. You're creating when you're doing the production, when you're filming. You're not creating in post. That's where things get crazy, and then that's why people hate editing, because they leave all these things for post. It's like, nah, you're refining everything, right? Uh, you're not creating it there. It was already created in pre-production, not in post. All right. So how do you stop borrowing against your edit, right? For the video debt concept. Before you hit record, you spend 10 minutes doing what I call a hazard sweep, right? For example, you turn off the AC or the fans. You listen for any hums. You check the lighting direction. You check how the background is. You frame the edges, going back to the examples that we did. You make sure, if you're working with people with blazers, you make sure if they have any lint on or something that sticks out in the camera and the monitor. You obviously test for the audio, make sure everything's going well. You check any, extra light that might be flicking off in the background. You make sure that people don't have their name tags, because we don't want to do that. Make sure that the ladies have their hair, no runaway hairs. It's these things. Make a list and make sure you have that when you go to shoot, to make sure that you run that through right before you hit record, and that way you have extra safety. All right. You're not fixing these problems. You're deleting them before they even exist, and that's the key right there. You take that out there. So make sure you make a hazard sweep list. And always remember, the cheapest fix is prevention. It's kind of like my dad used to say. It's like, the best way to not make a mistake is to not make it at all, right? Right. So the biggest myth in filmmaking isn't that post can fix anything. Is that post should have to. All right. Respect the edit by protecting the shoot. Your future self and your budget, especially if you're paying for this, will thank you. And we'll just leave it off right there. I don't want to go too much on this, but you guys kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. As you can tell from the visual, on-set fix 5 minutes. A post fix could take anywhere between 2 to 3 hours, and that's interest, man, in money, in creative output, in your energy, and most importantly, in your time. All right. So make sure you know that. All right. So Wednesday, we're going to go practical, and we're going to do the One Light Masterclass and how to get intentional cinematic lighting with the sources that you have. Okay. So I'm just going to end it with this. Fix it on set, protect it in post. Remember that. And editing shouldn't pay for any production mistakes. I'm just going to finish it off with that. All right. So make sure you putting in the time and using your mental energy wisely, because trust me, you don't want to go crazy, nuts, fixing it in post. All right. So I appreciate all of you guys for